Hi.
Hi.
And today welcome back to CDMP TV, and today we're going to be talking about representation in the media.
We're going to be talking about disability,
Yes.
sexuality,
Yes.
maybe a bit of gender with that, and race.
And ethnicity.
And ethnicity.
As a whole. Okay.
Should we just jump straight in with disability? Because I've got a
Yeah,
lot to say about
he's got a rant prepared.
recent events. I've always got a rant prepared. So Moon Knight just wrapped yesterday, not wrapped, last episode released.
Finished.
And I've had a problem with this show all the way through it because it was lazy representation. Everyone likes it because it is a cool concept, but they did everything wrong. DID is a very real disorder, and it's not like, oh, the person's got personality in their head, which is why I've got an issue when everyone says Mark is troubled. Mark's got Stephen inside. No, Mark and Stephen and spoiler now. Are you mocking me? I feel like I'm being mocked. Mark, Stephen, and now Jake Lockley, all just as much their individual selves as anyone else. They just share the body. They're a system, which is the technical term for the body and the collective. And my problem with the show is that like different alters, not personalities, alters, are talking to each other in the reflection, which that just doesn't happen. And while they got the disorientation right very early on, all of a sudden they're having banter with each other in the reflection, and I couldn't enjoy the show properly because I knew
it lacked the proper research needed to make it that people who did know what the idea was to understand. Yeah,
and if it was from a smaller studio, I could accept that. But it's the fact that it's from Marvel Studios, it's from Disney. It's not like they couldn't figure it out. It's that they didn't want to. They were too lazy. I know that's what the character's like.
Could take a simple Google.
Exactly.
To figure out what
I mean, there's a way I know it all.
Yeah, you can
YouTube.
You can find out through TikTok now, to be honest.
Exactly.
Like would take such little effort just to make a few minor changes to the script.
Like social media
to make it so much more accurate.
Social media is such a dangerous tool, but if you use it right and you're responsible with it, it's such a powerful tool to learn about these things. And the fact that Disney couldn't do that, it's an issue.
Yeah, it's another one, like, especially like now, mental health.
Yeah.
Is such a big thing. Why did they go wrong?
It's gone
something
from
so important.
Yeah, that's the case. But also, media's kind of gone from mental disability is never shown, it's not real, to mental disability is crippling and serious for most of the time. But then physical disability, oh, you lost your arm, well now you've got a robot arm and you can kill anyone you want. Like now physical disability is seen as a superpower because mental disability is seen as a disability. They can't just both be what they are. Yeah,
with physical disabilities, you're either a superpower or you're the evil villain.
Yeah, you're either a hero or a villain. You can't just go about your life.
I'm looking at you,
James Bond villains
is the worst for
almost any Overwatch character is either a hero or a villain because of their disability.
Every single James Bond character, literally the latest movie, both the villains had facial disfigurements.
Yeah, it's
both of them.
There's a problem with disability, but I feel like with all representation, there's going to be good and bad. It just depends on how you look at it. It's all up to interpretation.
Like you could argue that the fact that there is representation is a good thing, but I'm sure a lot of people would rather not to have as much representation and then be able to like make their own content and say it how it really is, than to look and watch something and be like, that's not how it really is, and that's painting a false image.
That's not to hang on to the disability section of this, and especially the DID for too much longer, but that's what the DID community online is like, because they're very informative. They do the research because it's their life, and then they reach a good amount of people. But then mass majorities, I mean, Marvel Studios fan base, and that's just going to undo everything they do. And that's the problem with lazy representation. Like, I guess it's harmful.
Yeah, and if they don't consult with the right people, or even just put in a little bit of effort to Google it, which would take 5 minutes, then it's going to do more harm than good, which is defeating the purpose of representation as a whole, really.
But just to move on to a bit of a lighter note, some good representation, race and ethnicity in Black Panther.
Yeah.
I feel like since we're on that Marvel train of thought right now, Well, when aren't we? But you know, look around. We've got Thor, Spider-Man, Captain America, Groot, and Iron Man. We're always on Marvel.
Yeah. Not you specifically.
Me specifically.
But yeah, Black Panther was very positive.
Yes.
Like,
it got a lot
kind of like changed the expectations.
My thought on Black Panther is it's good representation. It is very good.
Yeah.
And it doesn't shy away from harsh topics. But I feel like it got more praise than it deserved because it was too late. We should have had it earlier, but since it was the first big thing,
everyone was like,
oh, this is really good. But realistically, it's not. It's just, it was the first to do it.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's important to take that first step. But from that, we need to keep the ball rolling.
It also wasn't just representation for representation's sake.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't just the token ethnic minority character who's there, and the fact that they're an ethnic minority is their entire personality, and it's like, there's so much more to being that. A lot
of representation historically has been the ethnic minority, the gay best friend, the disabled member of the group that's normally in a wheelchair. Like, there's normally a very few boxes that they try and tick to say, look, we have representation. So it's nice to see that more and more projects are coming out and having more representation, like in a more diverse way and well. Yeah,
and just sometimes because the actors are good.
Yeah.
Like a character who maybe the race doesn't matter.
Yeah.
The actors are good enough to get the part, and
exactly.
That's very good, and also provides a good point for personal identity for a lot more people.
Yeah, and that's a point on a lot of things now are starting to cast outside of race and sometimes even gender.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a positive thing to an extent. I feel like there's a point where you have got to just, some characters should stay the same because it's an important part of the character, but when it comes, if it's for the character, fine, but if it's not, just open casting.
Yeah, like if the fact that they were, like, for example, an ethnic minority was very specific to what the character goes through in the plot, it would just be very wrong to cast
but then at the
a white person.
Yeah, but I feel like that can also go both ways, and I feel like that's something that needs to be discussed, is that, like, all people should have a chance to be cast, not because of whether they are a minority or not, no matter if they're male, female, white, black, Asian.
Even for stuff like where it's like historical recreations. Hamilton.
Yes, Hamilton is a very good example.
Very few white people in the cast a lot of the time.
But realistically.
Kind of obvious that would not have been the case, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
because
as long as it's entertaining,
and getting the story across.
And I feel like there's one place where there's very few exceptions where I would agree to that case, where I feel like LGBTQIA plus actors should have a more chance of getting up for the role than someone who's straight and white. Like,
and especially like if the character's transgender, use a trans actor.
Okay, let's just stop beating around the bush. We're talking about Heartstopper now.
As can be seen behind.
Yeah, there it is. We can't not talk about Heartstopper because it came out and it's done really well, and I feel like it's one of the very few cases where they've cast outside of what was in the source material, and it works because of the performances.
Yeah, it was like outside the source material, but still so close to the source material as well. So like, no one could have complained that they changed a few things.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, there's obviously, oh God, I've forgotten her name. Elle's actress is trans, and that's a very good step forward. Yeah. Like, it's an important part to a character, and it's an important part of the actor's life, obviously, so she can bring any struggle that comes with that into her performance.
The emotions behind every single thing said about the character and all the struggles that the character goes through.
But then she also doesn't over-dramatise moments that aren't dramatic. Like, she does just have good fun with her mates. She has a laugh. She doesn't take everything seriously because my life's been a struggle because of what I am. Yeah. There's a healthy balance. Yeah, there is a healthy balance. And having Tao, who again is Asian. Yep. So representation there on another part is a straight cis male which has been up for some controversial debate because I feel like it's iffy territory, especially for people that aren't part of the community. What you define as what? Yeah. Because in some people's eyes, Tao is now pan because he's interested in Elle, who is trans. But then there's another
point of
argument
Tao identifies
where-
as, and to quote, the token straight friend.
and Elle is a woman, so
I think
it
it's
shouldn't be seen as a
good
queer relation.
way
It shouldn't be
of
seen as anything other than straight.
fighting the haters.
Yeah, it feels like there's an argument to be made for either side, and I feel like that's something where it is just up to the individual what they want to call themselves.
It's up to them,
hmm
and it's
So-
good that.
I guess we'll see how Tao goes in the show, but I feel like he's going to end up just saying he's straight because I don't,
he will
because
say straight.
if you're
And
pan,
it's
you're
a good
interested in
thing
everyone, right?
because- Yeah.
Yeah, so if he's identifies as straight now, chances are he's not going to change his
Yeah.
mind just because he likes a trans woman.
Yeah, and I think that's good because it fights back the haters who
Yeah.
will say you can't date a trans woman and
Yes.
still be straight,
Mhm.
but then it's like it's up to the
It's up to
individual
the
who
individual.
they define, how they define themselves, and
Yeah, and
then
it's all about what you feel you are, which is a big part of the show
Yeah.
in Nick's whole storyline.
yeah, Nick's storyline resonated a lot.
Do you want to dive into that a little bit more?
I
There
cried.
it is. You cry at everything. I'm not at all surprised.
Yeah, but it was like very like personal
Mm.
because the exact everything he did 5 years ago, I did the exact same thing. So I
And
was
I feel like there's a
Yeah.
big avenue to talk about things like personal relationship in shows like Heartstopper.
yeah.
Because the fact that the shows you're allowed to go into a lot more detail, you're allowed to have the moments where he's googling,
He's googling,
Is he
am
gay?
I gay?
he is
He
just
does the
discovering who
BuzzFeed
he
quiz.
is.
Everyone does that.
He's discovering who he is. He's changing his mind on other people's perspectives on how much he likes them.
Yeah,
Because like Harry is a very dislikable character, which says something to the actor's performance,
yeah, it does.
where he manages to get you to hate him in such a easy way. But
yeah,
it's I can't talk about him without getting angry because I genuinely don't like his character.
it was a good because like despite you never seeing Charlie's coming out,
Mhm. You still get that coming out
you
story.
still know roughly the behinds, and you know like that he got bullied, and then like people who got bullied because
See-
they're gay or like part of the LGBT community, they can resonate with that even though they don't see it
Yeah.
face on.
I feel like that starts an interesting discussion on, is it good or bad that they had the coming out story? Because it's very conventional that the gay character gets the coming out story. So while the gay character of the show is the protagonist, Charlie, well, arguably the protagonist, didn't have that story. But then Nick has the coming out story,
Right.
coming out as
And
bi.
yeah, and the fact that he came out as bi and he's
That's
not
another
gay,
thing, yeah.
'cause you see a lot of like gay
You see,
representation, but you don't see much bisexual
yeah,
representation.
you see a lot of the time
on
where
its
a
own.
character will think, am I bi? And then decide, oh wait, I'm straight. I mean,
Yeah.
not straight, gay. Like, it's almost like a curve when realistically it's not. You go to one thing before you realise the other. They're separate things, and I feel like the show
Yeah.
does a good point of making that clear.
Yeah, like they're realising that he might be bi because of the Pirates of the Caribbean movie. Accurate, to say the least,
I feel
according to the subreddit of Heartstopper.
Heartstopper subreddit. That's somewhere I haven't ended up. I've ended up a lot of places to Heartstopper.
You miss it
I haven't
out.
got to Reddit yet.
You're missing out on
Yeah,
the good times.
I feel like I'm not, because I like to do other things with my life, and if I end up on the Heartstopper Reddit, I'm going to be there forever. Speaking of being there forever, should we move on to a different type of representation?
Fine.
I mean, we can take, while we're still on Heartstopper, let's quickly cover gender.
Yeah.
Nick Nelson is the perfect example of the hypermasculine male.
Rugby player.
He plays rugby,
Popular.
he's popular, he's part of the school sports team, he's muscular. But then he twists that by being more accepting.
He's a
Obviously,
golden retriever.
He's a golden retriever. You don't see many hypermasculine male characters that are part of the LGBT community,
Yeah, especially in sport.
especially in
So
sport.
it was like not only a good thing for representation for teenagers, but also for people in sports.
Yeah, and then that obviously ties into other shows like Love Victor, which tend to have that. So it's kind of where like arguably hypermasculine male that plays sports and is nice to everyone. And like
Yeah.
it's an argument of whether it's problematic because they feel like they need to have the hypermasculine male, or good because they're having a hypermasculine male that is part of the community.
Yeah.
Right, we got drawn back into that again. Okay,
Moving on.
moving well on
Next
as
point.
far away as possible. Well, I say far away. It's still on gender and class. I feel like a good franchise to talk about is the Hunger Games, since we're bouncing over everywhere this episode.
Yeah, we'll keep it brief because
I can talk forever about the Hunger Games.
Touch on it.
Yes, there's an episode coming soon on the Hunger Games.
Probably.
We won't be there, but
Sadly.
everything all going well, there will be another episode, an episode on the Hunger Games coming out soon. So we're just gonna
In detail.
very briefly
But-
discuss.
Katniss Everdeen.
The
People are
perfect.
Switching gender roles.
Yeah, I mean,
You've got
She's-
the nice baker boy who's all soft and wouldn't hurt a fly.
he is the hyper masculine
stereotypical
male in
Who is-
in physique,
But then he's so stereotypically
but then he's so
female
yeah.
in his personality.
He is the damsel in distress. He's the Propian princess without being female.
Yeah. Whereas Katniss is the opposite, looks-wise,
hmm
a bit fragile.
Yeah, a lot of the
and
time you
quite
see
weak.
women that are shown to be strong are quite physically masculine, but that's not the
Yeah.
case in the Hunger Games.
She still keeps her femininity
hmm
in the sense that during the interviews,
Mhm.
the dress,
Yes,
the beautiful dress, she still
the
is
magic fire dress that
keeps in
changes
touch with her
magically.
femininity despite maybe the character not liking it as much.
Yeah, and I feel like
But it's
there's
not like
part of that in the promotion as
overriding
well, and
that.
it kind of ties into representation of age as well, where when she was younger, she was shown as just a girl, and then when she got older, she got over-sexualized, she was more feminine
yeah.
for the promotion. I feel like that's problematic, but I feel like we should let the other group discuss that.
Yeah, but the positive female representation,
It was really the first of its kind to go
Yeah.
into that strong of a female character
the
in that
Hunger Games,
little stereotypes.
Divergent.
Yeah.
Those movies came out around the same time, and
Mhm.
arguably they don't make movies like it
Yeah.
anymore. But
I mean,
them
you've got
movies were
you've
so
got
good
Lara
for like,
Croft as a character, but she's very masculine
Yeah.
in her herself. Which
for
is
like
the issue, I guess.
the positiveness of Tris Breyer, Katniss Everdeen.
Yeah.
Those other characters.
Mhm.
You have like Joanna from the Hunger Games.
Yeah.
Very like powerful, strong, but
Mhm.
then still show moments of vulnerability, which is like
Yeah.
what every woman wants to see
Yeah,
in media.
I feel like that's very important for representation of everyone. Really, they should be shown. There's a place for stereotypes, but you need to focus on
You need to
correcting
not-
any misconceptions that come from stereotypes.
Yeah, you need to not. Like sometimes stereotypes can be used for comedy, but like
But
don't hound them
yeah,
because
don't
no one likes it.
yeah, don't overdo it. There's a place for stereotypes, but not in a harmful way.
Yeah,
There's a line to walk.
there's a line to walk, and you should not cross it.
Yes. Well, this episode has been a hot mess. We've been everywhere. We've been jumping around everything. So
And we've had a rant. And Sol did not mention Spider-Man. He'd written
Kurt,
it.
the lizard, he's lost body parts and then he gets superpowers and fixes himself. Disabled superhero, well, supervillain. Spider-Man has been mentioned.
Okay, we're
That's
done.
that box tick. Okay, that's been a hot mess of the episode.
Multiverse.
Next
of
episode,
Madness.
hopefully, is going to be Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Hopefully next week, if not
Soon.
soon. And then sometime after that, Hunger Games with
Other
some different
people.
hosts. Yeah. See you later.
Bye.